year 1 of the second emperor, 209 BCE, Hu Hai was 21 years old. Xiao Gao served as the minister of the imperial bodyguard, enjoying the emperor's trust in holding the reins of state affairs. The second emperor issued an imperial edict, increasing the number of livestock used for sacrifices at the first emperor's mausoleum and ancestral temples, elevating the ritual hierarchy for sacrifices to famous mountains and great rivers, and ordering his ministers to deliberate on ways to venerate the first emperor's temple. All the ministers called out and memorialized. In ancient times, the Son of Heaven had 7 ancestral temples, feudal lords 5, and senior officials 3. These would remain unruined for 10,000 generations. Now the first emperor's temple is the most exalted, all within the 4 seas present tribute. The number of sacrificial livestock has been increased, and the rituals are fully complete. No further additions are needed. The temples of former kings are located either in Xiyang or Xianyang. In accordance with imperial etiquette, Your Majesty should personally hold the wine cup to worship at the first emperor's temple. All ancestral temples dating from Duke Xiang onward shall be a total of 7 temples. Ministers shall present offerings in accordance with ritual, thereby revering the first emperor's temple as the imperial ancestral temple. Your Majesty should resume referring to yourself as Sen, the imperial I. The second emperor discussed with Xiao Gao. I am young and have just ascended the throne. The commoners have not yet submitted. The late emperor toward the commander in counties to display his power and subdue the people within the seas. If now, with the realm at peace, I do not travel on inspection, I will appear weakened and unable to make the world submit. The spring, the second emperor toward the eastern commander in counties, accompanied by Li Si. Reaching Jishi, he traveled along the coast, then south to Kuaiji. He had inscriptions added to all the stone stelae erected by the first emperor, and engraved the names of the accompanying ministers beside them to glorify the late emperor's great achievements. The emperor said, these stelae were all erected by the first. Now I have inherited the title of emperor, yet the inscriptions do not refer to him as the first emperor. Might seem to have been erected by his successor, which would be unworthy of the first emperor's magnificent deeds. Chancellor Li Si, Minister Feng Uji, and Censor-in-Chief dememorialized with a risk of death. We request that the imperial edict be fully inscribed on the stelae to clarify this matter. We make this request at the risk of our lives. The imperial order replied, approved. After reaching Liaodong, the second emperor returned to the capital. At this time, the second emperor adopted Xiao Gao's proposals and reaffirmed the laws. He secretly plotted with Xiao Gao. The ministers are disobedient. The power of officials remains strong, and the imperial princes will surely contend with me for the throne. What should I do? Xiao Gao said, I have long wished to speak of this, but dared not. The late emperor's ministers were all prominent nobles renowned for generations across the realm. Their meritorious deeds have been passed down for ages. I, however, have always been of lowly birth. It is only by your Majesty's trust and promotion that I hold a high position and manage palace affairs. The ministers are dissatisfied in their hearts. They only pretend to obey me outwardly, but inwardly they refuse to submit. Now that your Majesty has returned from your tour, you might take this opportunity to investigate the governors and military commanders of the Commander IS. Execute them. This will ginger the realm with your authority above and eliminate those you have long disliked below. In this age, we cannot rely on civil governance, but must use military means. I hope your Majesty will act in accordance with the times, without hesitation, before the ministers have a chance to plot. A wise ruler can shelter the destitute, elevate the humble, enrich the poor, and win the allegiance of the distant. Then upper and lower will be harmonious, and the state will be stable. The second emperor said. He then executed many ministers and imperial princes, and the imperial attendants implicated in their crimes all lost their positions. 6 of the first emperor's other sons were executed in due count. Prince Zhang El and his 2 brothers were imprisoned in the inner palace, and their crimes were reviewed separately. The second emperor sent an envoy to Zhao. The officials will carry out the legal punishment. In palace rituals, I have never dared to disobey the master of ceremonies. In court rankings, I have never dared to violate etiquette. In receiving orders and responding to inquiries, I have never dared to make a verbal error. Why say I failed in my duty? I wish to know my crimes before I die. The envoy said, I was not part of the planning, I only carry out the imperial edict. Zhang El then shouted 3 times to the heavens, Heaven, I am innocent. The 3 brothers all shed tears and committed suicide by sword. The imperial clan was filled with fear. Ministers who remonstrated were accused of defamation. Officials clung to their salaries to survive. The commoners lived in terror. The second emperor returned to Xianyang and said, the late emperor built Tifeng Palace as his residence and hall, because the palace in Xianyang was too small. Construction was halted when the late emperor passed away, and the laborers were transferred to build the mausoleum at Lish. Now that the Lishan project is complete, abandoning Yifeng Palace would imply the late emperor was wrong. Construction of Yifeng Palace therefore resumed. To appease the barbarians beyond the borders, the second emperor continued the first emperor's policy. He conscripted 50,000 strong soldiers to garrison Yongyang, training them in archery. Together with the food consumed by hunting dogs, horses, and other livestock, the daily grain expenditure was enormous. Fearing insufficient supplies, he ordered grain and fodder to be transported from the commander, i.s. those responsible for the transportation had to bring their own food, and commoners within 300 li of Yanyang were forbidden from consuming the transported grain. The laws enforced by the second emperor became even harsher. Shen Sheng and other frontier guards rebelled in the former lands of Chu, establishing the Shangchu regime. Chen Sheng proclaimed himself king of Chu, took up residence in Chen County, and dispatched generals to conquer territory. Young men in the commander, i.s. east of Mount Hua, tormented by Qin officials, all killed their local governors, military commanders, and magistrates to join the rebellion in response to Qin Shi. They were successively envy-fed as kings and princes, and marched westward in alliance, claiming to punish the tyrannical Qin. Their numbers were incalculable. A court herald returned from the east and reported the rebellion to the second. The emperor flew into a rage and had the herald imprisoned for trial. When the next envoy returned, the second emperor asked about the situation. The envoy replied, "These bandits are being pursued by the commandery governors and commanders, and have all been captured. They are not worth worrying about." The second emperor was pleased. Wu Chen proclaimed himself king of Zhao, Wei Jiu king of Wei, and Tiandan king of Qi. Liu Bang, later emperor, Gao Ziyu of Han, raised troops in Pei County, and Xiangliang in Kuai. Year 208 BCE in winter, Zhu Zheng and other generals dispatched by Chen Sheng marched west to Shishui with several 100,000 troops. The second emperor was greatly alarmed and consulted his ministers. "What should we do?" Shang Han, the minister of the imperial household, said, "The bandits have arrived in great numbers and strength. It is too late to mobilize troops from nearby towns. There are many convicts at Lish, and please pardon them, arm them, and send them to repel the bandits." The second emperor then granted a general amnesty, and sent Shang Han to lead the convicts. Shang Han routed Zhu Zhang's army and eventually killed Zhu Zhang at Kaoyan. The second emperor further dispatched chief clerks, Sima Zhen and Dong Yi, to assist Shang Han in attacking the rebels. They killed Chen Shen at Chengfu, defeated Xianglan at Dingtao, and eliminated Wei Jiu at Lin. With the prominent Chu rebel generals dead, Shang Han crossed the Yellow River north to attack Cao Zhi, king of Zhao, and others at Julu. Xiao Dao advised the second emperor. The late emperor ruled the realm for a long time, so ministers dared not do evil or speak. Now your majesty is young and newly enthroned. How can you deliberate on state affairs with the nobles in court? If you make a mistake, you will expose your weaknesses to the ministers. The Son of Heaven calls himself Zen precisely because his voice should not be easily heard. Thereafter, the second emperor often stayed in the palace, deciding all government affairs with Xiao Gao. From then on, the nobles rarely had the chance to see the emperor. The rebels multiplied, and the court continuously sent troops from Guangzhou eastward to suppress them. Right Chancellor Feng Uji left Chancellor Li Si, and General Feng Ji remonstrated. Rebels have risen simultaneously in all commander is east of the pass. Tian has sent troops to suppress them, killing many, yet the rebellion persists. The root cause of the numerous rebels is that the people are overburdened by frontier garrisons, grain transport, and forced labor with excessive taxes. We request a temporary halt to the construction of Yifeng Palace and a reduction in frontier garrisons and grain transport. The second emperor said, "I heard Han Fei say, Yao and Shun did not trim the rafters of their houses, nor repair the thatch on their roofs. They ate from earthen bowls and drank from pottery basins. Even the gatekeepers of today are not more frugal than this. You dug long men, opened roads through the central plains, dredged the Yellow River's stagnant waters into the sea, and personally carried tools, wearing away the hair on his shin. Even the toil of slaves is not harder than this. Those who are noble and rule the world should do as they wish. The key is to enforce laws strictly, then subordinates dare not do evil, and one can control the four seas. If rulers like you and the Zhao kings, though honored as emperors, engaged in menial labor to set an example for the people, what need is there for laws? I am the ruler of 10,000 chariots, yet my status is not reflected in reality. I will build 1,000 chariot procession and establish 10,000 officials to match my title." Moreover, the late emperor rose from a feudal lord to unify the realm. Now the realm is peaceful. Externally, he repelled the barbarians to secure the borders. Internally, he built palaces to demonstrate his success. You all witnessed the founding of his achievement. Yet within 2 years of my ascension, rebels have risen everywhere. You cannot suppress them, yet you wish to abolish the late emperor's policies. You failed to repay the late emperor first, and cannot be loyal to me second. On what basis do you hold high office? He had Feng Uji, Li Si, and Feng Ji are arrested and handed over to prison officials to investigate their crimes. Feng Uji and Feng Ji said, military commanders and chancellors cannot endure humiliation. They then committed suicide. Li Si was imprisoned and subjected to various torture. Year 3207 BCE, Shang Han and his troops besieged Julu. Xiang Yu, the supreme general of Chu, led Chu troops to relieve Julu. In winter, Zhao Gao became chancellor and finally interrogated and executed Li Si. Shang Han and his men suffered repeated defeats. The second emperor sent messengers to reprimand Shang Han, who grew fearful and dispatched chief clerk Sima Zhen to request instructions from the court. Zhao Gao refused to receive Sima Zhen and distrusted him. Sima Zhen, also afraid, fled. Zhao Gao sent men to pursue him, but failed to catch him. Sima Zhen met Shang Han and said, Zhao Gao monopolizes power in the court. If you, general, have merit, you will be killed. If you have no merit, you will also be killed. Xiang Yu attacked the Tai army fiercely, capturing Wang Li. Shang Han and his troops then surrendered to the feudal lord. On the day of Ghai in the 8th month, Zhao Gao plotted rebellion, but feared the ministers would not submit. He first tested them by presenting a deer to the second emperor, saying, this is a horse. The second emperor laughed and said, Prime Minister, are you mistaken? You call a deer a horse? Zhao Gao asked the ministers nearby. Some to curry favor with Zhao Gao said it was a horse, others said it was a deer. Zhao Gao took the opportunity to secretly punish those who said it was a deer. Thereafter, all ministers feared Zhao Gao. Zhao Gao had repeatedly claimed, the rebels east of the pass will accomplish nothing. But after Xiang Yu captured Qin General Wang Li and others at Julu and advanced further, and Shang Han's army suffered successive defeats and requested more troops, Yan, Shao Qi, Chu Han, and Wei all restored their east of Hengyu Pass. Most people rebelled against 10 officials to join the feudal lords who lead their armies westward. Liu Bang led tens of thousands of men, sacked Wuguan, and secretly sent messengers to contact Zhao Gao. Fearing the second emperor's wrath and his own execution, Zhao Gao feigned illness and refused to attend court. The second emperor dreamed that a white tiger bitten killed the left horse of his chariot. He was displeased and perplexed, so he consulted a diviner. The diviner said, the spirit of the Jing River is causing this. The second emperor then fasted at Wangyi Palace, intending to sacrifice to the Jing River and sink 4 white horses into its waters. He sent messengers to reprimand Zhao Gao for the rebel crisis. Zhao Gao, terrified, secretly plotted with his son-in-law Yanla, the magistrate of Zhuangxiang, and his younger brother Shaoqing. The emperor refuses to listen to remonstrance. Now the situation is urgent, and he wants to blame our clan. I intend to depose him and install Prince Ying. Prince Ying is benevolent and thrifty, and the people support him. Zhao Gao sent the minister of the imperial bodyguard as an internal accomplice, deceiving the second emperor that a large band of rebels was approaching. He ordered Yanla to assemble officials and conscript troops, and took Yanla's mother hostage at his own residence. Yanla led over 1,000 soldiers to the gate of Wenyi Palace, found the captain of the guard, and said, rebels have reached here, why did you not stop them? The captain said, the palace guards are heavily stationed. How could rebels dare break into the palace? Yanla then beheaded the captain, led his soldiers inward, shooting arrows as they went. The imperial attendants and eunuchs panicked, some fled, some fought back, but those who fought were killed with dozens dead. The minister of the imperial bodyguard and Yanla entered the palace together and shot arrows at the curtain where the second emperor sat. The second emperor flew into a rage and summoned his bodyguards, but they were too afraid to resist. Only one eunuch stayed with him, daring not leave. Fleeing to an inner chamber, the second emperor said to the eunuch, why did you not tell me earlier? Things have come to this. The eunuch replied, I survived only because I dared not. If I had spoken earlier, I would have been killed long ago. How could I live to now? Yanla approached the second emperor and accused him. You are arrogant and unrestrained, cruel and unrighteous. The whole world has betrayed you. Make your own arrangements. The second emperor said, may I see the prime minister? Yanla said, no. The second emperor said, I wish to have a commandery and be a feudal kingdom. Yanla refused. The second emperor added, I wish to be a marquis with 10,000 households. Yanla still refused. The second emperor said, I wish to be a commoner with my wife and children, like the other princes. Yanla said, by the prime minister's order, I am to kill you on behalf of the world. Though you say much, I dare not report it to the prime minister. he ordered his soldiers to advance. The second emperor committed suicide. Yanle returned to report to Zhao Gao, who then summoned all ministers and princes to announce the second emperor's execution. Zhao Gao said, Qin was originally a kingdom. The first emperor ruled the world, so he took the title of emperor. Now the 6 states have restored their kings, and Qin's territory is shrinking. Holding the empty title of emperor is inappropriate. We should revert to being a king, as before. He installed Ying, the son of the second emperor's elder brother, as king of Qin. The second emperor was buried south of Du County in Yingcheng Garden with the rituals of a commoner. Zhao Gao ordered Ying to fast, worship the ancestral temple, and receive the royal seal. After 5 days of fasting, Ying plotted with his 2 sons. Zhao Gao killed the second emperor at Wang Yi Palace. Fearing the ministers would execute him, he falsely claimed to uphold justice by installing me as king. I heard Zhao Gao even made a pact with Chu after eliminating the Tang imperial clan. He will establish himself as king in Guangzhou. Now he wants me to fast and worship the ancestors to kill me in the temple. I will feign illness and not go. He will surely come in person, and we will kill him there. Zhao Gao sent messengers to summon Ying several times, but Ying refused. Zhao Gao came in person, saying, Ancestral temple worship is a major event. How can your highness not attend? Ying assassinated Zhao Gao in the fasting palace, then executed Zhao Gao's 3 clans and displayed their bodies in Jiangyan. Ying ruled as king of Qin for 46 days. Xiang Yu's general Yu Bang defeated the Qin army, entered Wuguan, and camped at Bas Han. He sent messengers to negotiate Ying's surrender. Ying tied his neck with silk, rode a white horse-drawn plain cart, and held the imperial seal and tallies to surrender beside Ji Road. Yu Bang then entered Jiangyan, sealed the palaces and treasuries, and returned to camp at Bas Han. More than a month later, the armies of the feudal lords arrived. Xiang Yu was the leader of the allied lords. He executed Ying, all the sons of the Qin royal clan, and the entire Qin imperial lineage. In the end, he sacked the city of Jiangyan, burned down the palaces, captured the young women of the area, plundered the treasures and valuables in the palaces, and divided them up with the other lord. After the fall of Qin, its territory was divided into 3 parts, which were en fed to the king of Yang, the king of Sai, and the king of Di, collectively known as the 3 Qins. Xiang Yu became the Hegemon king of Western Chuan, took charge of en-fei offing lords and establishing kings under heaven. The Han Dynasty was finally destroyed. 5 years later, the Han Dynasty unified the whole country.